शांति शांति।
स्वराज्य साम्राज्य विभूतिरेषा भवत्कृपा श्रीमहिम प्रसादात् प्राप्ता मया श्रीगुरवे महात्मने। नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु। नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु। नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु। नमस्तस्मै सदैकस्मै कस्मै चिन्महसे नमः। यदेतद्विश्वरूपेण राजते गुरुराजते। यदेतद्विश्वरूपेण राजते गुरुराजते। Hari. Do you have books? Mundakopanishad book do you have? You don't have. Would you like to chant the Shanti mantra following me? छोटा छोटा करके बोलेंगे. See, each Upanishad starts with a Shanti Patha. It is only to make our mind focused, create the atmosphere for study of Upanishads. Because it's the highest truth presented directly. So you need to absorb, to grasp the truth, to retain. It needs a certain mindset. We are coming from outside with so many occupations, so many things cluttering our mind. How to cleanse the mind immediately? It's not easy. So we spend some time on Shanti Patha to cleanse our mind and be settled so that we can grasp the meaning and also retain it. Each Upanishad has got a Shanti Patha. Mundakopanishad Shanti Patha we will do. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyam Devaah. Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah. स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवांसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः। स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः। स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। See, this Bhadram word is very important here. It is used in the Vedas and the Upanishads in various places also. Bhadram, it means auspicious. Now what is auspicious, that we have to know to understand what is Bhadram. Auspicious means which finally brings us in harmony with the natural rhythm that is there in creation, which finally leads us to liberation, as we say. It is not just knowing the Upanishads, it's a Purna knowledge. It has a wholesomeness in it. It is not just meditating and getting into samadhi and knowing what our soul or consciousness is, or what is the Nirguna Brahman. It is not so. Upanishads have not neglected our life. So very, very important is how to bring in the knowledge to transform our life. That has been the goal of the Upanishads. Maybe initially it was not like that. When they discovered first, they wanted to know who am I, or where is the consciousness, what is the revealer. They were satisfied with the samadhi or the revelation of the consciousness within us. But later on, when they found that even if we get into repeated samadhi, but when we come out, unless our life undergoes a certain change, all around, everything in the life, every moment of life, they undergo change. It is not, our life will not be transformed. So our life, it is not fulfilling. We cannot repeatedly go into samadhi and we cannot stay in samadhi. This misunderstanding is still there. In many cases, people remain in samadhi thinking that is the ultimate. But samadhi means it's not a functional state of the personality. Nature has created the human personality with a certain name. We have our limbs, we have our mind, we have our intelligence. The limbs are meant to work, the mind is meant to think, the intelligence is meant to analyze and understand. If we don't utilize these faculties, then what is the human life for? So this is a misunderstanding, that once we understand the bliss of meditation and finally merger into the Nirguna Brahman, going into the samadhi, that's not the ultimate. The ultimate is to transform our life in this world completely, so that it becomes so nourishing, fulfilling, that we will not need samadhi. We will not like to go away from the real life to anywhere. Our thoughts will become so bhadram, so comfortable, so auspicious, that we will not like to get away from the thoughts. Why do we need samadhi? Because we are not happy with our mindset. Whatever our mind is thinking or is cluttered with, we are not happy with it. So when we go into meditation and when the mind becomes silent, we get the peace of meditation. We repeatedly look for it. But that is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal should be all the thought process, all our analysis, our intelligence, mind, emotion, they will be so auspicious, bhadram, that we will not need to go into the samadhi, getting away from life. That is the ultimate goal of Upanishad, we should remember. It is to transform every aspect of our life. So it starts with the word bhadram karnebhi shrunuyama devaha. That means, O Lords, O the devas. Devas means those who have the brilliance, those who have some innate power in it. O the natural gods, O the devas, O the gods, may we hear auspicious sound through our ears. Bhadram karnebhi shrunuyama devaha. May we hear auspicious sounds. What does it mean? If we think about throughout the day what we are speaking about, how we are spending our time, what are the words we are using, we are hearing that most, are we not? Let whatever sound be there outside, but what sound we are generating, that we can definitely convert into, make it bhadram. The abhadram elements can be removed from there. So these prayers, the Shanti Pathas, are called self-addressed prayers. They are not really meant to that, oh Devas, so it is addressed to some Deva who will do it. No. Well, we are addressing finally to Brahman or the consciousness. But by addressing to Brahman or whatever, actually we are praying means we are earnest. If you are earnest in your prayer, it is self-addressed. We have to make that change. Whatever we are praying, if we are true in our prayer, so that will institute a change in our mind. If we think in the morning or so many times in the day that Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha, then should not our sound produced by us will naturally become Bhadram? This is the force of our mind working on our behavior constantly. So constantly we should pray. Whenever there is time, we should pray that. Then automatically we will find the words we produce, they are changing. Now we have to be very careful that words you cannot change unless the thoughts are changed. What are the words coming out of our mind? Whatever thoughts are there in the mind. Suppose we are not speaking, we are sitting also. Are the thoughts Bhadram? So maybe outside we are not hearing any sound at all. But what we are hearing is the chattering going on in our mind. Are we not hearing that? If that is not made Bhadram, if that is not converted into auspicious, then the sound produced by our mouth, our tongue will not become auspicious. Not only that, we more hear our thoughts than our produced words. The thoughts are always we are hearing. Hearing means it's a subtle hearing. Inside it is going on. So when we say that Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha, it's a wholesome prayer where just this single line can change our entire life. If we remember it, if we practice it, there comes the retention. First we have to grasp the truth that this is where the sadhana is. Once we grasp the truth, we have to retain it. That is, the dhruti is involved. Dhruti means the retentivity, the retentive power. One is to understand, for that buddhi is necessary, the mind is necessary, with that we will grasp the truth. But we will not be able to retain the truth unless we have the dhruti. Dhruti means a constant dedication to the truth, constant practice of the truth. That will develop the dhruti in us. So, this single line, Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Deva, if we remember, it means a wholesome transformation of our life. It is not only the sound produced by our mouth, but the thoughts also. When the thoughts change, everything around will change. Wherever we look, everything should change. Yesterday we were going to Mango. I was very sorry seeing the same Jamshedpur which I have seen. That road I was travelling after a long time. I was about to show Swamiji that from here we used to pluck kasha for Saraswati Puja. At this time there used to be kasha, that white grass flower kinds. It used to be filled with that. From there we used to cut throughout the night, and next morning we used to do the Saraswati Puja with that. I was about to tell Swamiji that from here, once we were cutting the kasha, at that time we were caught by there used to be Gunda Gadi. That means they would, some vans, police vans used to be on night duty. And wherever there are some miscreants, they will catch hold of them and put them into the prison. So at 2 o'clock they found 5-6 boys are here in the forest. So they put us into the truck and they were taking us to the prison, to the thana. But on the way, seeing us and talking to us, they left us on the way. So finally we insisted, no, you don't leave us here, you please leave us at our school. You take us back to the school. They agreed and they dropped us at the school. So I was about to tell Swamiji that this story, that here we were plucking this kasha and decorating our Saraswati Puja pandal in our school. When I looked at it, I found that it is nowhere there. Everywhere there is a black compound wall, huge compound wall, and they have painted black, so that nobody can write anything perhaps. And over that only stick no bills is written everywhere. It is so ugly everywhere. And before that also there are lots of vehicles standing there, oils and all, the vehicle repair shops, and the whole place has become garbage and filthy. So I was thinking that what has happened to our country? That everywhere, wherever we go, it is only garbage and garbage. So it is seeing all around Abhadram. This is all abhadram. Everywhere black compound wall. We don't think that it's an eyesore. We may need protection, but is this the way the protection should be put? So everywhere we are creating abhadram because in our mind we are what do you call it? We post rahe hain, matlab posha, that is we are fostering abhadram in our mind. Constantly we are fostering abhadram in our mind. So everywhere it is abhadram. So bhadram means a comprehensive transformation of the life. Now here he is saying bhadram karnebhi srinuyama devaha. May we hear bhadram sound through our ears. Then he says bhadram pashyema akshabhir yajatraha. With the eyes may we see bhadram. How will you see bhadram? When you create bhadram around, you will see bhadram. Nature by itself is absolutely bhadram. Why? Because nature does not have desire. It's everywhere. Nature is sahaja. Even animals also. Even the tiger is pouncing upon a deer. There is nothing abhadram in that. When there is a fire, everything is destroyed, then also there is nothing abhadram, because it is part of nature. Both creation and destruction, they are part of nature. There is nothing abhadram. It is absolutely in harmony with nature. If we think of the whole universe, how much of creation and how much of destruction is taking place together every moment. There is no abhadram at all. It is our desire, our selfishness, our constrictions, our non-considerate mindset, not considering about others, all these things, the lack of consideration, lack of thought, that makes the surroundings, the habitat around us, abhadram. Wherever human beings have settled now, either it is a suburban town or a town, everywhere it is abhadram. You go out in the nature, it is bhadram. So we are embodied abhadram. How to change that? We have to change the inside. When we change our emotions, our mind, our intelligence, if we make ourselves bhadram, automatically outside also will become bhadram. We will see bhadram, we will hear bhadram, only bhadram sound will be produced, only bhadram visions will be seen. So by praying that, it is reminding us about this necessity of bhadram. This necessity is there for the human beings, because human beings have the desires which makes us selfish, which makes us absolutely oblivious of the surrounding of the nature. In destroying nature, we are the first animals on this earth. All other animals have, even human beings have lived on this earth for so many thousands of years. Nothing had happened till the Industrial Revolution, which we hail so much. In the history book it is written Industrial Revolution. Yes, it has given us many things, but it has spoiled the whole earth. After the Industrial Revolution, it's only a question of about 200 years or so. The whole earth has been spoiled, particularly over the last 50 years. Before that it was not like this. So the Upanishads have not only found the truth, but they have found where lies the ultimate auspicious goal of human society, of the human civilization. That is how it could give a comprehensive, auspicious civilization on this earth, which lived for thousands of years. As Swamiji was saying yesterday, that these texts, we don't know how old they are prehistoric. But over these thousands of years, they have been preserved. They have conceived of a world where everything will be auspicious. But our recent modern civilization has flouted all that. To get back to that, we need more and more of practice of these things, of bhadram. Our mind should be completely immersed in this thought of bhadram. Om bhadram karnebhi shrunuyama devaha bhadram pashyema akshabhir yajatraha. Yajatra means those that God who are in charge of our yajnas. Their activities those days were mostly yajnas. So the devas, they are also devas. Because yajna is done in fire, so it is related to the vision. The fire is related to vision. So they are saying that may we see only the auspicious sights, O Yajatraha. Sthirair angais tushtuvamsas tanubhihi vyashema devahitam yadayuhu. Our bodies have been created by nature. We are born with a certain life span that is decided by nature generally. The nature has provided the instruments and the limbs with a certain lifespan. He says that whatever devahitam yadayuhu, whatever lifespan nature the gods have given us, may we live that lifespan. How? Sthirairangais tushtuvam sastanubhihi. That we should live with healthy limbs, healthy body, healthy mind, healthy intelligence. And how? By praising nature. What does it mean? By praising nature, what will happen? It means what I was saying just now, that we should appreciate the role of nature. We should not destroy nature by creating abhadram around. We should always be concerned to keep the nature in its bhadram state. So when we appreciate gods means the natural powers. When we appreciate means we don't pollute the, suppose river is a power, water is a power. If we really worship the river, then we will not be able to pollute the river. If we really worship wind as a god, we will not be able to pollute the wind. Like that, if we worship the trees as gods, as we do for Ashwatha, Banyan and all the medicinal plants, if we do that, then we will not be able to spoil them. We will be careful about preserving them. So it is a mutual, as now in the present world, modern world, we talk about ecology and environment. This was there thousands and thousands of years ago, and this was being practiced. Now only we talk, we don't practice. Even the industries, they talk about it, they don't practice. They are creating something good there and emitting something bad here. That was not there. It was a wholesome conception of a civilization which will live in harmony with all the powers of nature, the entire nature. Such was the vision. And not only it was a vision, they used to live like that. That is why our country, this human civilization, has lived for an unknown period of time. With all the economic prosperity and everything. If you go into the data, you will find that till the 19th century, India was at the highest level of economic progress in the whole world. And it is not the highest level. The most of the GDP was from India, not from the other places. So, Sthirairangaistuštuvamsastanubhir devahitam yadayuhu. It means a great environmental thought here, that we should live in harmony with nature and we should live our life also with proper nourishment and harmony. Swastina Indro Vriddhashrabaha. Indra is a god. Generally I call it, Indra's astra is lightning. So I call it the god of electricity. That electricity was not invented at that time perhaps in this manner, but the lightning was there, the power was there. And it's one of the greatest powers. So Indra has great fame, who has been talked about, with given the highest position amongst the natural powers, amongst the gods. He says that may there be auspiciousness, make our surroundings auspicious, O Indra. May there be auspiciousness for us, may there be prosperity for us. Swastinah Pusha Vishwavedaha. This Vriddhashrabaha means who has been extolled in our scriptures. Indra has been extolled in our scriptures, of ancient fame, you can say. Vriddhashrabaha means of ancient fame. Indra was famous. Then he says, Swastinah Pusha Vishwavedaha. Vishwavedaha means all-knowing. All-knowing Pusha. Now this Pusha means Poshana, means who nourishes us. Pusha means the god who nourishes everything. Now why he is called all-knowing? Vishwavedaha Pushaha Swasti. Now, that, all-knowing Pusha, may our life be prosperous and auspicious. You make our life auspicious. Why are they saying that Pusha is all-knowing? Because ultimate nourishment is knowledge. We should not forget that. Food is a nourishment, air is a nourishment, but the ultimate nourishment is knowledge, which will nourish our mind, which will nourish our intelligence. And if those are nourished properly, if the intelligence, emotion and mind, they are nourished properly with the wisdom, then automatically our life will undergo change. Everything will become auspicious.